Okay, so again, we have these 3 networks and the 2 networks that are created between the routers. So we have 5 total networks that we need to create. And we decided to steal 3 bits from the host portion. Those 3 bits from the host portion of the IP address are going to give us 2 to the power of 3, which equals 8. We subtract the first and last networks that we're going to be creating, or subnetworks, and that's going to give us 6 usable subnets. Now your question, Justin.
I was confused where we got the 3 from.
Okay, so let's take a look here. That's just fine. So here's our IP address, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the first 3 octets are all reserved for the network, correct? Because it's a class C. Class C is the first 3 octets are reserved to identify the network portion. And we mask off the network portion all with 1s, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's where we get the 255, the 255, the 255 from, correct?
Correct.
So this is the network portion. How many networks do we have right now?
Says 24.
No. One network, the 192.168.100 network. Just one network. But we need how many networks? 2, 3, 4, 5 networks. So we need to steal some bits away from the host portion to make our network portion larger so we can create more subnetworks. Okay? So where do we get the 3 from? We're going to steal 3 from here. Use a different color. We're going to steal 3. 1, 2, 3. So now this is my network, and subnet. The subnet bits that we're stealing from the host portion. 1, 2, 3 bits. 2 to the power of 3 gives me 8. Right? Because 2 to the power of 3 is 2 times 2 times 2. So 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. That's where we get the 8 from. Minus the first and last. That rule, we can't use the first subnet or the last subnet because they contain the original network ID and the original broadcast. And that gives us our 6 usable. You see where we get the 3 bits from?
Yeah.
So we just steal them away from the host side.
Right, okay.
So that leaves these bits for my hosts in each one of my subnets that I'm going to create. The host range is going to give us the range of numbers that the hosts will exist in. So that's 2 to the power of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 to the power of 5 equals
32.
32. This is my range. Now the same rule applies here. The first address and the last address are reserved inside of that little subnet out of these 32. So that gives me how many usable host computers in each network that I create? 30. You see where I'm getting 30 from? So that I just need to know because I need to know I can't plug more than 30 computers into this network. Because of the way that I've subnetted this. I only have a range of 32 IP addresses that I can use. Right?
Right.
Okay. So let's figure out what we're going to do with this range. That means every 32 numbers from 0 all the way down to 255, every 32 numbers, it's going to be a network. So this range is going to be 0 through 31. This range is going to be 32 through 63. Wait, am I doing my math right?
Yeah.
Yep. So you see what's happening? What we're doing is we're just taking this range of numbers here and we're splitting it up into smaller subnets. So this is my subnet 0. This is my subnet .32. So I'd identify this one by saying 192.168.100.0. This network could be identified as 192.168.100.1. 32.
I'm lost again.
And then the next range is 64 through what, 71?
95.
No, 95, thank you. So there'd be 96 would be the next one.
127.
So then I identify this one as 192.168.100.64. These are my networks that I'm creating, and I keep going until I get all 8. Until I run out and get all the way to the 255. So let me write them all out. I'll do it right over here. So subnet 0 is going to be 192.168.100.0. Subnet 1 is going to be 192.168.100.32. Subnet 2 is going to be 192.168.100.64. Subnet 3, 192.168.100.96. Subnet 4 is going to be 192.168.100.128. 28. Subnet 5.
160. 192.
224 and subnet 8 is 192.168.100.2.
That's the last one, whatever it would be. Is it 255?
2.
0 to 7 is 8.
No, yeah, 2. So that's it. Yeah, sorry, 8 networks. We can't go any higher because the last number here would be 256. So then that's our last number.
Right.
That we can go up to. So this number goes all the way through 255. This one goes all the way through to 223. This one goes all the way through to 191. This one to 159. This one to 127. This one to 95. This one to 63. And this one goes to 31. So that rule, we can't use the first and last subnet, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So we can't use this one, or we can't use this one. That gives us our 6 usable subnets here. Now let's assign those subnets to our network over here. Our networks, our 5 networks. You ready? Seen it? We'll take a quick break here, give you a second to write down, those who are writing. Yes, Wes.
So, I forget, what again is the reason why we can't use the first and the last? Is it the
That's the
broadcast and identification, right?
Because 192.168.100 is the original network ID,
And then,
and 192.168.100 255 is the original broadcast ID of our original network that we're using. And because those numbers exist in here, we can't use them. Unless,
We use that
always
one.
exceptions, a lot of rules, we use the subnet rule command, the subnet 0 rule command, and that will allow us to use these and things will work. But the general rule, the original rule was we can't use them. Okay, so we'll keep that in mind for now. Yes?
So if you use that subnet 0 command, can you use 192.168.100.0, or does it have
Yes.
to be 1?
Well, that 0 is still identifying this subnet's ID. These are all the subnet IDs that I've written down here. So let's write the subnet IDs over here. Let's use them. Let's still stick to that rule where we can't use the first and last, okay, for now. So the first subnet we're going to use is subnet 1. So I'm going to identify subnet 1 over here as 192.168.100.32 / what's my CIDR notation? That's how many total bits there are in my subnet mask. If I count here, 8 plus 8 is 16, plus another 8 bits is 24, and then 25, 26, 27. So 27 is my CIDR notation. And I put a line under it. So that's how I identify the network ID, 192.168.100.32 / 27. This is telling me that this is the 32 subnet. Now, what is the first usable IP address in the 32 subnet?
33.
Dot 33. So I'm going to assign dot 33 to my router interface. Just because that's common practice. Not that that's the rule. But I could assign dot 34 if I wanted to. Right? That's a usable IP address. Okay. So let's assign this workstation with an IP address of dot 34. What is its network mask? So that's the IP. What's the subnet mask going to be for this computer up here?
255, 255, 255, 224.
255, the 255, the 255, which we know
Right.
is the first three octets are all by default. The classful C address has the first three octets all turned on. And then where do we get the 224 from?
The first three that are turned on.
First three are turned on. So the first one has a value of 128. Next one has a value of 64. Next one 32. If I add those up,
It's 224.
that equals 224. You seen where we're getting these numbers from?
Yes.
And that little manual subnet calculator, remember I handed that out? Little manual subnet calculator looks just like this.
Yeah, I was just thinking for that.
Yep, we see 3 bits turned on equals 224.
Awesome.
Tattoo.
Yep, nice little cheat sheet for you there. And then what is my default gateway?
32?
Dot 32,
Oh, 33, that's the router.
33.
The router is going to be the default gateway because this router is going to know how to find these other networks that exist down here. So this is my gateway out to any other network that might exist. So my default gateway is going to be 192.168.100.33. Anybody not see where we get these? Yes.
Well, I got a question.
Uh-huh.
Actually, does it matter which order you use those subnets? Can you-
No.
Okay.
No, I could have put this subnet down here or over here. Doesn't matter. It's just however you want to apply it. That's how we're going to have to physically configure the devices in order to make this work. Okay?
Okay.
So, the next one. Let's give this a network.
So that would be the dot 64 network.
The dot 64. So how am I going to write that down?
192.168.100.64/27.
And I'm going to underline it to identify that that is the network ID for this network.
Okay.
And then to really simply diagram this out, I'm going to say the first usable IP address is what, Vicki?
65.
First usable IP address in this network.
65.
That's 65. Okay, now Terry, I'm going to trick you. What is the last usable IP address in this network that I can assign to this workstation? Let's go 192.168.100 dot.
It should be 94, but you're tricking me, so what is it really?
No, it's not.
Okay.
I'm trying to trick you, and I didn't. I failed.
All right.
But why is it
It's the
94?
broadcast.
95 is the broadcast ID.
Yeah.
95
No.
94 is the broadcast.
No, 94 is not
95 is, I
the.
mean.
95 is the broadcast ID.
for
64
that
is
network.
ID.
So the last one is 94.
Okay.
So this is identifying my subnet ID, and this number is identifying my broadcast ID for subnet 2. So the usable ones would be 65 through 94 are my usable IPs. So assigning 94 right here is perfectly acceptable,
Okay.
right?
Right.
Okay, so my subnet mask,
Same.
and my gateway is going to be
65.
65.
about 65,
Yeah.
right? Everyone see that?
Oh,
Now I'm going to assign an IP address to one of these workstations, and you need to tell me what network it belongs in, and if it's even a valid IP address. You ready? I'm going to cover it up.
It's not valid.
Why is it not valid, Terry?
It's the ID, it's the broadcast mask.
It's the what?
It's the last range, so it's within the last range, which is unusable.
It's within the last subnet. 231 is in this range, which means it's in subnet 7, and subnet 7 we cannot use because it's part of the broadcast, the original broadcast ID of our original IP address that we started out with, original network that we started out with.
Yeah, grab this stuff for a little bit, and then I go to think about it, and it just falls all the way.
Well, stop thinking.
I know.
Jeez, Terry, stop thinking. So that's not usable. Okay, let's see if I can create one, if I can pick one out now.
First one or last one, and we'll same.
192.168.100.128.
Not usable.
Why is it not usable?
Because it's the network ID.
It's the network
that
ID for this
network.
one right here, 192.168.100.128. It's not usable. But if I assign it 120, well, let's go 130. That'll work. Will that work?
Yes.
Yeah. That fits inside of subnet 4. So, Zach, what is my network ID for this subnet down here that I have now assigned an IP address here?
192.168.100.128.
Yes, this is the 192.168.100.128 network with a CIDR of
27.
27. Yep, they're all using the same CIDR. They're all using the same number of bits for my network mask, which is 255, 255, 255.224. Where's my default gateway? Oh,
120.
60. Oh, there.
what should we use?
120 number.
So, 129.
Let's let O make this decision.
Oh.
You don't have to go with what everyone says.
Well, to keep it the same as everything else, I'd make it 129.
Okay, go 129.
But it could be any number in that range.
Exactly. Yep, it could be any number inside this range.
But by
192.168.100.129.
Can we take a breath?
Can you take a breath? Sure.
Yeah.
Just take a breather.
So we can't use any of the first one, we can't use any of the last one, we can't use the first and last one, and each one in between.
I think you got it.
A little.
Can't use any of that.
You just can't use this, can't use that, can't use this or that, but you can use everything in between. That sounds good.
Yeah.
All right.
Write that down.
Unless you decide to break the rules, in which case.
Oh, shut up.
So let's just assign networks real quick. So which ones haven't we used yet? We used the 64 network and the 128. So we have the 96 network. So 192, 168, 100.96/27, and then this one 192, 168.100.
Yeah, a little.
So on those,
So far off.
you
So
don't.
now, what about hosts?
Yeah. Do you need to assign another? I mean, does that have to have an IP address for that side?
The
So you
routers-
still need to have another. So you'll need 2 IP addresses in each of those for the
In each of the routers. Yes. So this router needs an IP address for this network right here.
And
What IP can I assign this router?
That's a .61.
So .161, and then this router is also a member of this network, so it needs an IP.
162.
Yep, .162. And this router right here,
97.
let's go .97, and this router here,
98.
.100. I like that. Good show. Okay, does everyone see how that works?
Yeah.
These you have to set, depends upon what router you're configuring, but you are not going to set a default gateway on the router. The router doesn't need a default gateway because
'Cause
it
it
makes the
is.
decision on where it wants to send the packet based on where those networks exist. And it learns that through the routing protocols. So we don't have to worry about default gateways here. You can set them. It's possible to set a default gateway on a router, and that's typically a router that's connected to the internet, and it typically will use your ISP's IP address in order to route to the ISP, and the ISP then will route it out for you out to the rest of the internet.
Okay.
But that's gonna be on the scope of this.